Ever wish you could just like snap your fingers and have this like perfect workspace at home? One that didn't mean like turning your living room into an office or fighting for a table at a coffee shop. Well, get this. The thing that's got me so hyped today is this idea I found. This like glimpse into this future where that could totally be a reality. We're diving into these private high-tech work pods, right? They're designed for like peak productivity. And here's the kicker. You can set them up pretty much anywhere. We're talking sleek, soundproof home offices, or even picture yourself working from a pod, like right on the beach. And the really cool part is that we're going through these super interesting source materials today, design plans, internal documents, even a tech startup's actual website. And it's hinting at way more than just some cool designs.
It's really captivating how it speaks to this bigger shift we're seeing everywhere, right? Remote work is blowing up, and with it comes this huge need for both privacy and security in how we work. These pods, they're not just some gimmick. They're a possible solution to this real growing need. The thing that really hit me was how rooted this whole idea is in Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam's vision of decentralized work. This is about way more than just, a business making money. It's about technology that's inclusive geographically speaking and really empowers people and communities.
And the way they're doing it is seriously cool. They even have a name for these things, My Cabins. And they're not messing around, right? We're not just talking about a desk and chair here. Think like noise canceling tech that's like next level ventilation systems that are top of the line, even data security measures that can go toe to toe with what you'd find in like a traditional office. Here's where it gets really wild. They're not just aiming for like individual homes. They want to partner with businesses, even local communities, to make this whole ecosystem thing happen. Imagine restaurants, right?
Yeah.
Restaurants with My Cabins, turning like slow periods into these productive private workspaces.
And that's really the genius of it, the potential for everyone to benefit. Think about it. You've got individuals getting better privacy and productivity, meaning better work-life balance too. Then you've got businesses who can like downsize their office spaces, maybe save some cash, and even get a leg up on the competition. And all that with fewer people commuting, which feeds into those sustainability goals everyone's talking about.
Yeah. It's like they've taken every challenge of remote work and said, how can we make this good?
Hmm.
Okay, so we've talked about these My Cabins, how cool these sound, but let's bring it down to earth for a sec. Let's say you're working from your kitchen table, been doing it for the past year, trying to like find that focus. How would having a My Cabin actually, change things up for you work-wise?
All right, so picture this. You're on a deadline, right? Super focused, and bam, construction noise from next door. Your dog decides it's playtime. The doorbell rings. It's like, game over for focus.
Oh, tell me about it. Seriously, I've been there. It's like the universe just wants to mess with your productivity sometimes.
Exactly. And that's where a My Cabin goes from being this like fancy office to like your productivity sanctuary. Those noise canceling walls, the perfect temperature because of the ventilation system, and even the way it's designed ergonomically, it all comes together to create a space where you can actually truly focus. No more of that like makeshift standing desk made of books and an ironing board, right?
And speaking of focus, I remember the source material mentioned something super interesting for businesses, especially those still figuring out this whole remote work thing. They call them secure ODCs. What's that all about?
Right. So ODC stands for Offshore Development Center. And basically it's a way for companies to like extend their security protocols, the ones they have in their actual offices, to individual My Cabins, no matter where they are.
So it's like having this portable office that's
Yep.
like up to code with all your company's security stuff. That's like huge for any industry dealing with, sensitive information like healthcare or finance.
Totally. Think about the possibilities. Companies could like really cut down on needing those big centralized offices, save a ton of money, and still have that data security. And for people working for them, it means you could work securely from anywhere, which is pretty amazing.
It's like taking the best parts of a real office, secure, focused, and mixing it with the whole like freedom of working remotely. It's a win-win, really.
For sure. And it's not even just those immediate benefits either. Think long term. If we can create this world where people are working productively, securely from anywhere, that changes everything. Urban planning, environmental sustainability.
Yeah, it's like these My Cabins become these like catalysts for change on this huge scale. But okay, we got to balance the excitement with some real talk here, right? One thing that kind of jumped out from the stuff we read was affordability. These My Cabins sound incredible, but are they only going to be for like the people who can afford to drop serious cash on them?
That's the million-dollar question. It's like the crucial thing, right? It's easy to get caught up in this utopian vision of work, decentralized, flexible, all that. But if these pods are priced out of reach for most people, it just creates a bigger gap between those who have access and those who don't.
Totally. And then there's the social impact. There are people who really get energy from those like bustling office environments. Could this lead to some feeling isolated? How do we make sure those social and psychological needs are met in this new way of working? It's like we're like right on the edge of this huge change in, how we think about work. But before we get lost in all the what ifs, let's look at how these My Cabins are actually happening right now, in the real world. The stuff we read mentioned some pilot programs. Anything catch your eye?
Totally. This one really got me. This partnership they have with, I think, a community center in Singapore. They're making My Cabins part of this whole distributed productivity hub.
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah. It's like co-working. But instead of those big open spaces with desks everywhere, you've got these private pods where like you can actually block everything out in a focus.
Exactly. And it's not just like people working solo. They're going after small businesses too, even offering them up as like an amenity for people living there. It's a really cool example of how this tech could totally change what workplace even means.
Yeah, for sure. It's like taking those flexible workspaces to a whole new level. And speaking of like rethinking spaces, I keep coming back to that whole idea of putting My Cabins in places that already exist. Restaurants, hotels, imagine like resorts. Imagine booking a My Cabin with like an ocean view for your next workation.
Right. And from a business point of view, it's genius. These places, they always have those times when things are slow, right? Partnering with My Cabin means they can like bring in a whole new income stream by catering to remote workers, people traveling for work. It's taking what used to be downtime and turning it into something valuable.
Everybody wins. The business is happy. The worker gets a change of scenery, a dedicated workspace. I mean, it beats being stuck in your spare room all day, that's for sure.
No kidding. And don't forget what this could mean for local economies. Instead of everything being in those big city centers, this decentralized model could bring new jobs to smaller towns, more opportunities.
Yeah, it's like that saying, a rising tide lifts all boats. But here, the rising tide is like a wave of My Cabins changing how we work.
Exactly. That's what's so cool about this whole concept. It's not just some flashy new tech, it's a total rethink of how and where we work. It could really create this future where work is more flexible, more fair, maybe even, I don't know, a little more like adventurous.
I like that. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's like the one big thing you hope our listeners thinking about as they go about their day?
I think the biggest thing is that the future of work is like fluid.
Right.
It's always changing and technology is shaping it in ways we don't even fully get yet. These My Cabins show that, how innovation is blurring those lines between our personal and professional lives, creating these exciting possibilities, but also new things we got to figure out as we go.
Totally, totally. And as we figure out this whole evolving situation, it's more important than ever to stay informed, think critically about all these advancements, and really talk about the important stuff, accessibility, fairness, the kind of future we want, right? So to our listener, we'll leave you with this. Imagine if work fit into your life instead of the other way around. What would that look like? How would something like My Cabins or things like them fit into that? Lots to think about until our next deep dive.